Radio, grade 10 learners, welcome to this How to EGD lesson. We are busy with civil drawings. It is the most difficult of the drawings that we've done up to now. And we are going to have to come up, based on what is given here on page 1017, we're going to have to provide a complete floor plan as well as a sectional elevation using the required details. Now, I've before the time reminded you of this, that in civil, you will get a page, we call it the information page, that will have for you your window schedules, your door schedules, foundation detail, and your floor plan. Now on this, every bit of information that's shared on this is going to be important for you to come up with a correct drawing in the end. So please take time to study what is given. Two things on this specific question that I'd like to address, and I'll zoom in for you to see it before we get started. They've given us a floor plan, and this is incomplete, of course. They've just given to us the outside lines of the external walls. And then for this internal wall, there's an X there that is specified. Lines indicated the center line of an inside wall. In other words, our inside wall will be half to the one side, half to the other side. Now, if you look at your foundation schedule, you know that inner walls are 110. They are non-load bearing. Your external walls is 220, which is load bearing walls. Now, the second difficult part of this is the measurements here is, of course, in millimeters provided. And these are the actual measurements of the building that's going to be built. But we have to draw a scale drawing of this. Now, the scale that is required is we have to draw scale 1 to 25. Now, it's easy if you have a scale ruler that actually has that scale. It is a rare scale to find. So what do? We are going to, in my case, I had to take each one of these measurements. Let's say, for instance, this measurement here, it's 3,200. And I have to take my calculator and divide that with 25. And that equals 128. And so now I'm going to use my scale 1 to 1. And when I draw this piece of the wall, I'm going to use it as 28 millimeters in length. Okay, so that's why I took my time before the time, took all of these measurements, did a calculator, and took the 1,400 divided by 25 is 56. 2,000 by 25 is 80. And so I've helped myself by populating this before I even start drawing. Once I have that and I have understanding of what is the requirements here, I can now start drawing. All right, so let's get going here. They've given us an empty page, which is your page 1018. I'll just zoom out a little bit so you can follow me. I'll zoom in again later to show detail. When you have an open page here, there's a starting point A at the bottom. And that is, of course, this point here, the bottom corner of our house. And so we've got a full width here. We've got a full length here. We've also got, I'm going to start off with this outline in construction. The W5, that indicates window 5, and so when I'm going to draw that, I'm going to refer to this for its measurements, and specifically with regards to the width of it. And then the door 1 refers again to D1 here. We also have a sliding door which is labeled D2, and that is its position. So they've indicated the positions of the various doors. They've also indicated the cutting plane. If you look there, there it is. And it's a cutting plane that goes through the external wall, through the internal, through the external, and we'll do that sectional elevation as well. Rightio, so let's get going on this one. We're going to try and do it quickly, and so I'm going to be very effective in the steps that I take here because I want you to learn how to draw these drawings. Civil is part of EGD. You can't escape it, and so make sure you're able to draw it quickly and effectively. Now, at the bottom here, I'm just going to start there. The measurements here is in the total 192 millimeters, which is 4,800 millimeters. I've got 1,400, then 2,000, then 1,400. I've already done the conversions here. So I'm going to make all of those markings now immediately here. Here's my ruler. I'm going to go with the construction line. And then I'm going to got the first one is at 56. Make a mark on that line. Then I've got an 80 gap, which takes me to here. Then I have another 56, 10, 20, 30, 40, 56, and that is the corner. Okay, from here we're going to go upward 2,500. So we're going to just make sure we keep our page aligned here. That 2,500 is now converted to 100 millimeters. Make a mark there. Now I turn again to the right. That's 3,200, which is 128. Okay, and on this one we have the 800, which is 32 millimeters. Then we have a gap and the last one is another 16. Okay, then going to go straight up here. Alright, let's go to this end. This is 5,500. So just in construction. I use those measurements. The first part here is 26. Then we have 80. Just using the measurements that was given to me. I'm really tight here on the end. And there we go all the way across. Remember, this is now the outsides. Okay, on top here, just going to make that those markings. That's the 600. Then we have 2,500. Then we have the 1,000. And that's the center of that inner wall. And then there's 106 after that to the end. Perfect. Alright, this one there's one window. 29 on this end here. And 29 on this end. Okay, that's the center line. Just going to draw that. That's for the actual wall. Just as a construction line, just to remember that's the center line of that wall. All right. Then all these walls, the external walls is 220, which comes down to 8.8 millimeters. So that's about 9 millimeters. I'm just going to make a mark here on all of them. It's just the external walls. Do that quickly. All the way around. Indicate that 9. Alright, and then in construction, I can draw them in quickly. Do the horizontal lines. Okay, so very quickly I've got the whole building framed here. The inner wall is going to be 110, which comes down to 4 millimeters. So that's going to be 2 millimeters on each side. And I can draw those lines in. The next thing before I do all of these lines nice and dark is I'm going to indicate my doorways and my windows. So if we start here, we've got a window. We're going to have a solid line. Maybe can I do this in another pen so that you guys can really see it. So I'm going to, you keep with your pencil. And we're just doing, at the window here, about a 2 millimeter extension because we're thinking of that window sill that needs to be indicated. And after a while, you actually at a point where you can estimate that. The actual doorways, it starts and stops on both ends. Okay. Then here we have nothing. At the bottom we have another doorway. So I'm just boxing in those doors and windows. Starting off with that quickly. Here we have again windows down this side. 2mm extension on the outside of that wall. 2mm extension. Okay, and there on top also. Okay, the door here, they actually don't position that for you. That's interesting. So this door isn't positioned, but you can just do it in good proportion. The width of that is given as 850. What's 850 divided by 25 now? It's about 35. 10, 20. Okay, so there's a doorway. Alright, so once we have that drawn, now the drawing becomes quite easy. I'm going to again use my pen. So we're going to do all, maybe I start at the top. We're just going to do all the horizontal lines first. So at the window here, we've got a window sill. Then we have the outside of that wall. Okay, then we have in the middle of the wall two center lines, or two lines that indicates the window, close to each other, in good proportion. You see the spacing there. Then please don't fill your corners, and where an internal wall and an external wall meets, again there's a gap. So we don't fill that gap in. I want a clear corner where they meet, please. Right, you can keep following me. I'm just going to do all the horizontal lines first. That way I don't waste time with changing my ruler or my T-square. Just keep your vertical lines, horizontal lines. We're here at the bottom. This is another doorway. Okay, so we see we've kept open these corners, and now I can go for the vertical. I can do that also from one side. So we have our windows first. That's a window sill, window sill. Then we have the outside of that wall from this corner, fill it in between, also on top. Then we have the two lines that indicates the actual window in the middle of that wall. If you need to measure it, you can. Evenly spaced, please. As long as these are consistent, I honestly don't mind you estimating. But look there, it is consistent. If yours is consistent, by all means. But if you are having trouble, then you have to get the middle, go 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter. All right. That is a construction line, don't get confused. So we only have 1, 2, 3, 4 clear lines on that, okay, for the window. So you see here, we're just now filling in all the vertical lines. Inner wall here. Okay, there we go. For our different doorways, D2 is a sliding door. So first thing, when it's on the external wall, there's a step there. That's a straight line going all the way through. And then the sliding door, maybe let me zoom in here for you to follow me. There's a sliding door. This line is the step from the finished floor level on the inside to the natural ground level. And then we have two lines similar in width. Again, in the middle of that wall. And then you measure that distance. There's the center. We're going to do one line there and another line there. So what we technically have here is there is a door and there is a door. And so this door slides in that groove there. And so the arrow goes on the outside to show the direction. Does that make sense to you? You don't have to color it in, but I'm just showing you. So those are the tracks. That's the actual door that moves. This could be a fixed panel, for instance. Okay. So the same here at the bottom. There's another D2. So we have a line. Again, if you're not confident with estimating these, you can please measure them. Find the middle, just off the middle, that side. And again, for your understanding, that's one door, and there's the other door. Okay. Right, so we're moving ahead. We've almost done all of that. We're going to get to the internal doorway here. So there they've specified for you the door frame. So it's 125 becomes 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter. That is about 4 millimeters. So we can draw that in by just using your ruler, getting your 2 millimeter marks here, same on this side. So this door, they don't tell you which side we're going to open. I think this room is quite small, so I'm going to open my door on that side. So it's a full, that door frame is a full width there, okay? So we have a step and a step, step this side, step that side. Okay, so I think you can see the door frame there, and then the swing of that door, the hinge is on that outside corner. So look at where that compass goes, right there, and there, and it swings in line with that line. Okay, and now from this point we're going to have our, that's the actual door we're drawing in here. That's also closed. So that door, if it's in the open position, just for your understanding, there it is, in the open position. If that would swing closed, the back of that door will fit into this recess here. Okay, and so this is all construction lines. Don't let that confuse you. Those are just construction lines. Okay, what's left on this drawing before we can move on to the sectional elevation is the notes, the labels, and the hatching. So let's start with the hatching. We're going to start at the bottom left hand corner. Again, this is a nice big drawing, so don't waste your time with making these hatchings too close. We do want to make sure we show hatching in all different parts of this. So I can really jump that on. There's my mark already from the other day. Just redo that. So there's my, I just made a mark on my triangle. Now I know my spacing is going to be consistent with this. Can just, here I'll just do a little bit of it add on, but the big thing is to try and keep it as consistent as possible. Too far, you will also find it looks a little bit out of position, so don't have it too much, but just a healthy distance. We still cut through every part of this, like that, even that part of that wall I need to get by. Yes, young man.
So how do you put the direction of the sliding doors? Or you just get the sliding doors? Like,
okay, I'm going to answer that now. Thank you for the very good question. I'll answer it now for you. Okay, he asked me, how do I know what is the direction of this slider? Okay, how do I know the direction of that slide? So I actually didn't look at it before the time. Apologize for the flip there. We're back on it. So the direction of that slide, if we look at what is given, fixed panel, panel opens towards the left. So is mine correct or wrong? Mine is actually wrong. It says that this panel is fixed, and that's the one that's sliding. So that arrow should actually be here. Does that answer your question? Okay, yes.
What if it's from the right side, it goes up and down?
You mean from this side?
Not in that particular drawing.
Oh, like a sash window that moves up and down. That's a good question.
Yeah, that is good as well.
Well, that's a window that you're talking about.
No, I mean, if the sliding door's on the right side of the drawing.
Okay. Oh, like here?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it would have looked like that.
Oh, you just look at things. Okay.
Just look at it from the outside.
Okay. All right. Next part here that I need to do is I need to label. I'll do the main room for you. So keep these writings again. If it's 3 millimeters, it's going to be way too small for what I need to write. So this is I think they say room 1. So you have to label it neatly. Duidelik en uiteindelik. Room. Okay. The next thing they say, the finish on this is wood. So it's still concrete floor covered by wood. Remember, this is the finish of the floor. All right. And then they ask us, what is the surface area? Now, for you to do that, you need to know what is the inner dimensions. Now, you can do one or two things. You can take your ruler. Help me out quickly with the calculator, please. There it is, 95 millimeters. Times that by 25 quickly. 95 times 25.
2,300.
Okay. So we have 2,375 millimeters from here to here. So I've taken that 95 times it by 25. Here I have 104 millimeters. How much is that? Times that by 25? 2,620. Okay. So I've got 2,620 here. I've got 2,375. So what do I have to do? Area is length times breadth. So I have to now take, what is the answer going to be here? If I write my answer in a moment, what are they asking me? They're asking me, what is the square meters? The answer is going to be in square meters. So take that 2375. How many meters is that? Help me gou. Hoeveel meter is 2375? Already 2,375 times 2,62. Do you see? Okay, now take the calculator. What's the answer? 2,375 times 2,620. Hey, almal kyk net vir my. Help my. 2,3675 times 2,620. No, I can't see. 6,2 square meters. That's the internal square meters of this room. Are you with me? Okay, and so you'll have to do here, if you are out with a millimeter or two because you are calculating this yourself, we're not going to be mad at you. Okay, but you can't be at 8 or 9. Alright, show me that, how you calculated the floor area. And you have to do that for the small room as well as the bigger room. Okay, the last thing here that's important is that cutting plane. So we'll zoom out. It goes right here. That's where they give it to us. Here is a triangle on this end and a triangle on this end. And then A. Okay. Now, kyk gou vir my almal. If I flip this page now to go to the sectional elevation, if I look at that given foundation, do you agree with me that that's the external one? That wall there is in fact this wall. Does that make sense to you? The outside, right? And on this side, this will just be flipped. That's still the outside wall. Okay, and the inner wall, these two are these two. Yes or no?
Yes.
So I'm going to take, before I even flip my page, I'm going to measure for myself this distance, which is anyway 320, because I know it, that's on here as well. Daar's die 320, okay? And I'm going to need these distances to now draw my sectional elevation. So I'm going to flip it. And now we're not going to waste any time for you. I'm going to show you the quickest way to get this done. All right, there we are. They say point A here at the bottom is the start of this foundation. And there's our measurements given. So we're going to start with that immediately. From here, the first part. Let's look see waar is neer sit pot dit. Okay. The first part here, that foundation is 250. That means 10 millimeters. Okay. Then we have a 12 millimeters, which is the 300. Then we have a 8 millimeters. Then we have a 4 millimeters. And then we have about a 200 here. Okay. So once I have that, now I'm going to draw construction lines across this drawing. The bottom is the first reference. There's the second one. Construction lines all the way through this drawing. Then the footing here is 700, which is 28 millimeters. Right. In the middle here, maybe let me zoom in for you. So that base is 28 for the foundation. We need the middle. And then I need to do the wall thickness here, which is 4.5, 4.5. Why do I need this? Because remember, and I actually can draw this in here. That's the outside. This is the inside. Okay. So this wall here, the outside line, is that one. And that's the 320 from here to the other side. So I'm going to measure now. 320. There's 300. Add another 20. That's the outside of my wall. So that outside line is a solid line up. Okay. All right, then the base, 14 to either side. I'm going to just draw it in pen again for you to see. So there's my footing. There's the external wall. There's the internal wall. I'm leaving a gap for my concrete floor. Done all the horizontal lines here. I'll do the same on this one. Is there a shortcut to do these drawings other than actually just finding a quick strategy? No. All right, then this is 106. Again, it's from the outside, using the measurements that we used. Then either side of that is the actual wall. Now I'm working with the details given on this part. Okay, so the floor goes through that distance, and then there is a 500, so it's not as big as the load-bearing foundations. Okay, now that I've done all the vertical lines, I can go and I can do the horizontal lines. There's a footing, there's a footing, there's a footing. You can still do that one. Now I'm just helping myself here to save some time for you. All the way through, all the way through. At the end of this wall we have a brake line at the end of this one, and also the one on the further end. That's the brake line, brake line. Here we just need the end of that concrete. Alright. And then the damp-proof course, remember that DPC runs there. While you draw that line, immediately write DPC. Here you have a natural ground level. I'm just using the measurements that they've given to us. I'm not trying to be funny. Okay, what's the hatching like? There's a triangle in the foundation. Same here, just 2 or 3 of them. Also in the concrete at the wall, 2 or 3 triangles. Then we have undisturbed soil on the inside here, 3 lines. On the outside, 3 lines, 3 lines. Same here, 3 lines, 3 lines. Same here. It can be done freehand. Right, and then here the compacted fill, that's at 45 degrees. Again, I don't have to do the whole part, just show here at the outsides of each wall. Okay, nothing here because that's a natural ground level, so you can label that one, natural ground level. Last part here is the triangle with the finished floor level. Afrikaans, daar is die VVV. DPC is volg weer laag. Natural ground, natuurlike grondvlak, natural ground level. Right, the last part of this drawing that is a requirement, you're going to do exactly the same. Remember that damp-proof course, I've said it before, actually runs down there all the way underneath all of this, right? So the top half of the building is technically not joint to the foundation because there's a plastic damp-proof course running through that entire base. The last thing that they require here is to label this drawing. So this is section AA. You're going to have to do the same on the other side. I didn't complete the external one. You know that needs to be done. Section AA. Right, and that then completes this drawing once you've also done the external one on that side. Rightio, that is then under 35 minutes a talk through civil analytics, civil floor plans, civil sectional elevation. That's a requirement for grade 10, and this is very much the standard that you can expect also in your FAT and your exam. Rightio, thank you for watching. Now it's your turn.